Guys, welcome back to Heart to Heart. I am Bernadette Jones, and I want to talk to you guys about the topic of if you, he will. Because we like to talk about the blessings of God, like being the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, and that's great, but we have a part to play in all of that. It's not just going to happen automatically, and we just don't get to sit back and just act however kind of way and expect all these things to happen. And so the first scripture I want to go to is going to be out of Deuteronomy chapter 28. And I'm going to focus on verse 1 and 2. But the title of this chapter, actually in my Bible, is called The Blessings on Obedience. So verse 1, now it shall come to pass if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God. So even then it says, if you diligently obey, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you today, that the Lord your God will set you high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of the Lord your God. So even here it's saying, if you diligently obey, if you obey God, these are the blessings that'll come upon you. And if you go down further, it's you shall be the head and not the tail. You shall be blessed everywhere you go. You shall be above and not beneath. And like I said, we like to quote those scriptures all the time, but they don't just happen automatically just because you're a child of God, just because you've accepted Christ. There's obedience behind that. And I want to also go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14. And it says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. So it says, if we, God's people, will humble ourselves, we have to do it. God's not going to humble us for us. We have to humble ourselves. And not just humble ourselves, we have to pray, seek his face, and turn from our wicked ways. Well, what would be wicked ways? Anything that's against what God says. So anything that would be disobedience to God. And some people will say, oh, well, that's not fair. You don't reward your rebellious children, because that just reinforces the behavior. You reward those who are obedient to you. When your children obey, you let them have more, go out with their friends and go do things. But when your children are disobedient and rebellious, you ground them. You naturally, as a parent, do that. So are you a better parent than God, to where you think he was just going to pour out everything on you because you are rebellious? So this is a two-parter here. It's like, yes, we have all these promises. The children of Israel were told they would go in the promised land, but they grumbled and they complained. And when Moses sent the spies into the land, they're like, no, we can't do that. Even though God said you can, they said we can't. And even God referred to that as an evil report, because he said that they could do it out of the 12. 2 of them were like, yes, we can do it. Let's go. God said we can have it. He's with us. And 10 of them were like, no, and turned the majority against them. And we're just like, they grumbled and complained and said we can't do it. And the ones who said they can't do it never went into the promised land. But the 2 who had faith and were like, yes, we can, and agreed with what God said, were able to enter into the promised land. Now, would it have been fair if God was like, you know what, y'all are grumbling, complaining, and say you can't do it, so yeah, go ahead and enter? No. He's like, I said you can. You just need to have the faith that you can do it, and the confidence that I am with you because I said it. So again, to have those, we have a part to play. They're not just going to happen automatically. We have a part to play in this. Even when we tithe, he says he'll open up the windows of heaven. There's so many promises that are tied to our obedience to God. That's why people always like to say favor isn't fair. Favor is fair. It is absolutely fair. And this is why it is fair. Because we have a part to play in it. When we're obedient, blessings, rewards. He says healing. There's so much tied to our obedience. So again, if you, He will. And I encourage you, go back and read Deuteronomy 28, the whole chapter, because the first part, it deals with the blessings on obedience, and then the second part deals with the curses on disobedience. Because even on verse 15, I'm going to read that real quick. It says, "But it shall come to pass, if you do not obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you." So you have a blessing on obedience if you diligently obey him, and then you have curses if you are disobedient to him, which is fair because it is all you. It is your choice what you choose to do. So guys, like I said, if you, he will. If it's a two-parter, we don't just get to sit back and act any kind of way and think you're going to be the head, and think you're going to be above only, think you're going to be a lender and not a borrower. All these promises that we, like I said, we love to quote, hinges on our obedience. How obedient are we to him, to where we will open up the blessings and be able to receive the blessings that he has for us. So thank you guys again for joining us for this heart to heart. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe, and starting on Wednesday, so next Wednesday, we will be doing a Facebook Live Bible study through the book of Proverbs. So join us Facebook Live next week, and I will see you guys later. Have a great week.